Tonight on The Big Story, a dangerous new chapter unfolds in Middle East. Israel has launched one of the most audacious military operations in its modern history, striking deep inside Iran, including the capital Tehran, and targeting critical nuclear infrastructure and top scientists. In response, Iran has vowed retaliation, unleashing a counteroffensive that has shaken the region to its core. This is no longer the shadow war we have seen for years. This is open warfare, with key figures killed, nuclear sites damaged, and the threat of wider conflict looming. We are witnessing what could become a seismic shift in the balance of power across the Middle East. I am Idris, and this is Big Story. The dramatic escalation between Israel and Iran reached a new and perilous height after Israel launched a wide-scale military operation targeting multiple sites deep within Iranian territory, including Tehran. In response, Iran unleashed its own military firepower, marking one of the most severe confrontations between the two regional rivals in the recent history. This latest round of hostilities suggests a significant departure from the shadow warfare that has long characterized their conflict, indicating a shift towards more overt and extensive military engagement that could further destabilize an already volatile Middle East.
Last night, we witnessed the savage aggression of the criminal Zionist regime against Tehran and other cities in our country. An attack that led to the martyrdom of a number of children and women, innocent civilians, military commanders, and nuclear scientists. The Iranian nation and its officials will not remain silent in the face of this crime. The Islamic Republic of Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make the enemy regret its foolish actions. As our great Imam said, whenever a flag falls from the hands of one commander, another capable commander will raise it and enter the battlefield. Just as the Islamic Republic of Iran has devoted all its efforts to peace and stability in the world and the region, and has proven its readiness for lengthy and confidence-building negotiations in pursuit of peace, it will also respond decisively to any aggression and will take firm action in legitimate defense of the country's territorial integrity. Here, I call on the honorable and courageous people of Iran to maintain their unity, solidarity, and empathy, and to refrain from paying attention to rumors and false news that will be spread as part of the enemy's psychological warfare. With their continued support and trust in the officials, they can help create the conditions for the country to overcome these circumstances as powerfully as possible. Today, more than ever, the Iranian people need unity, trust, empathy, solidarity, and loyalty. With the help of the Almighty God, and through this noble spirit, a strong, wise, and decisive response will be given to the crimes of the occupying regime. A regime that is now the most hated entity in the eyes of global public opinion.
The centerpiece of Israel's operation, dubbed Operation Rising Lion, was a series of coordinated airstrikes conducted by more than 200 Israeli Air Force fighter jets These strikes hit over 100 targets across Iran, including critical infrastructure, military assets, and most notably nuclear facilities. Israel confirmed that one of the main targets was Iran's Natanz nuclear facility, a site deeply embedded in Iran's uranium enrichment program. Israeli officials claimed the mission aimed to cripple Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons and was a necessary act of self-defense against what they describe as an existential threat. Among the casualties of the Israeli strikes were 6 prominent Iranian nuclear scientists, a significant blow to Tehran's scientific and nuclear establishment. In fact, the Iranian media and officials identified 2 of them, Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi and Faridun Abbasi, as major figures in Iran's nuclear and academic landscape. Their deaths, along with the destruction of key residential and institutional facilities, have raised alarms about the calculated precision of Iran's attack and the human cost of confrontation, both in terms of personal and strategic capacity.
We are very serious when we say that we will not allow Iran to obtain nuclear capabilities. President Trump and the administration are trying to negotiate with the Iranians. They said it will be for 2 months. I think that window is almost closing very soon. And if we will see that diplomacy is not working, we will do whatever is necessary to make sure they don't obtain the nuclear capabilities. We saw a few months ago they sent hundreds of ballistic missiles into Israel. So we cannot wait for them to have nuclear capability. We will not be in that position.
Iran's state-affiliated Tasnim news agency confirmed that the scientists killed had been heavily involved in nuclear research and engineering. Their credentials and roles within the country's nuclear program underline Israel's strategic targeting. Tehranchi, a theoretical physicist and academic leader, and Abbasi, a former head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, were central to Iran's nuclear advancement. The simultaneous killing of these scientists, along with university deans and senior engineers, indicates a deliberate effort to decapitalize Iran's nuclear command structure. Iran's assault on Natanz, widely regarded as the heart of Iran's uranium enrichment efforts, was a central element of the operation. Israeli military sources claimed that they had successfully damaged the key underground infrastructure, including enrichment halls and support systems. While the International Atomic Energy Agency, that is IAEA, later reported no immediate radiation threat, the extent of physical damage at Natanz could significantly hinder Iran's enrichment capabilities in the short to medium term, deepening on how much the buried infrastructure was rendered inoperable. The Israeli offensive came shortly after remarks by former United States President Donald Trump suggesting that the US was close to negotiating a new agreement with Iran. However, Washington's simultaneous move to evacuate personnel from its diplomatic mission across the Middle East hinted at a forewarning of possible escalation. This dual-postured diplomatic optimism paired with defensive military readiness reflects the complex role the US continues to play in the region. Torn between de-escalation goals and its historical alignment with Israel. The attack's timing is even more consequential, considering IAEA's announcement a day earlier that Iran was no longer complying with its non-proliferation obligations, marking the first such violation in nearly 2 decades. While Tehran insists its nuclear program remains peaceful, the combination of IAEA's declaration and Israel's airstrikes creates a narrative of accelerating crisis. This could provide justification for further international interventions or embolden Israel to pursue an extended military campaign.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen.
Iran's armed forces swiftly condemned the attacks, vowing a heavy price would be paid by Israel. The death of Mohammad Bagheri, Iran's highest-ranking military official, alongside the scientists, is being viewed as a deep provocation by Iranian authorities and has galvanized calls for direct retaliation with such high-profile losses. The Iranian regime is under immense pressure, both domestically and internationally, to respond decisively, risking a prolonged and potentially regional war that could draw in allies on both the sides.
خاک آن عرشیست گلهایش زیارتنامه خواند امضا شد بالگردها پهپادها پدافندها موشکها خودروها همه را خودمان میسازیم.
اقصانقات این سرزمین به تعداد سامانه ها و موشک ها اضافه می شود.
Historically, Israel has carried out multiple assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists, including a high-profile killing of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh in 2020, This long-term strategy of targeting individuals deemed vital to Iran's nuclear ambitions reflects Israel's broader doctrine of preemptive defense. However, what distinguishes the latest operation is its breadth and overt nature. Unlike the covert operations of the past, this wave of attacks marks a transition to open warfare, raising the stakes and changing the rules of engagement in the region.
בסדר, תשמור ככה, תשמור עליה מבנה ככה, בסדר? אוקיי, אני מתחיל, בסדר? 100%, עושה, נכנס. פגע, היא מתרסקת. בסדר, תשמור ככה, תשמור עליה מבנה ככה.